Hey listeners, Dan Harris here, host of the 10% Happier podcast. Imagine all your audio entertainment available in just one place. That's what the Audible app is all about. With Audible, you can always find the best of what you love or discover something new. Audible has an incredible selection of wellness titles and originals like The Light Podcast by Michelle Obama, Work It Out by Mel Robbins, and Confidence Gap by Russ Harris. Membership includes access to Audible Originals, podcasts, and tons of audiobooks that you can download or stream as much as you want. And as an Audible member, you can choose one title per month from an ever-growing catalog of titles to keep. The Audible app makes it easy to listen anytime, anywhere, whether you're traveling, working out, doing chores, wherever your day takes you. New members can try Audible now free for 30 days. Visit audible.com/Harris or text Harris to 500-500.
The weather is cooling down a bit. The leaves are starting to fall. Yes, it's that time of year again, football season. And we all know the best part of any game day traditions are the ones that involve food. There's nothing like having everyone in your game day crew coming together to bring their best bites and argue over whose family makes the best chili. And while there's no need to mess with the perfection of game day classics, like a freshly grilled Oscar Mayer hot dog topped with Heinz ketchup and mustard, it's always fun to step out of your comfort zone and get creative with your recipes. Because there's nothing more fun than adding to your list of game day traditions, like making a creamy and delectable queso dip with Velveeta cheese that can be eaten with so much more than just chips. Now is the chance for people across the nation to find out whose game day eats reign supreme. It's your turn to show off your tasty game day food traditions. Go to www.gamedayfoodtraditions.com to share a photo of your game day food tradition to enter to win $10,000. Once again, that's www.gamedayfoodtraditions.com to enter to win $10,000.
This is Full Change with Tom Laidlaw.
You know what? I was thinking about, okay, I would do different accents, but I think every accent would sound the same. Like it'd all be like Scottish, Irish, or
they all have some kind of Scottish Canadian accent that you do.
All right.
So you just came from the wedding, the Ranger wedding of the century, right?
Yes, Jackie DiPiazza. That was now Miss Jackie or Mrs. Jackie Farrell. Great wedding too. I haven't been to many weddings recently. My son got married 5 or 6 years ago. That was fun. She was my son. But they really made a point of making it a fun wedding. Their speeches, they broke it up and everything. So she's a fantastic person. Her husband, Matt, I've met him several times. We talked on the phone, and great guy. I've always been like, if you're in a little business, like he was wild. He was having a blast, dancing around and going crazy. It was good. Good time.
You got to let go. You got to do.
Well, yeah, definitely. Yeah, one to remember. Yeah.
For people who don't know, Jackie DiPiazza is the alumni manager for you guys.
I guess you call her that. Yeah, she's got another role. I can't remember what that title is, but yeah, she handles all that. That's a tough job for her. A bunch of divas, as you're learning with these alumni guys. So
she's like the babysitter for all the Ranger alumni.
Yeah. Yep. So people want they do a lot of these things where the season ticket holders, the salespeople for season tickets, will get a whole bunch of their clients to spend a lot of money. They'll do things like fly out to a playoff game in Raleigh or Pittsburgh or whatever. Do a lot of dinners in the city. So then they contact Jackie and say, listen, can you get us some players for this? So that's her job there. Set it all up.
Because you've had a bunch of weddings yourself, right?
They weren't any fun, though. I don't remember them being very much fun. The first one, I get, here's, well, you know my pattern. But the first one, she wanted like this big boat. It was like a huge yacht to get married on. Like this. The one good thing is only limited to 50 people. But of course, there's what?
You got married on a yacht?
Yeah. So, no, we actually got married at a church. Is it a church? I can't remember. Just a piece where it was. I don't know. And then we went to the boat and out of the boat. But, okay, so this is New York, right? It's Connecticut, New Jersey, all the shoreline around the oceans. Right? So there's like thousands of yachts that are already built and available to use, right? To rent out. Of course, she would want to get a brand new one that wasn't going to be ready until right before the wedding. So, of course, the night before the wedding, the boat shows up, not done yet. There's no carpets on, so they had to work through the night to get the carpets on. And I'm steaming because I'm thinking, we'll just get another boat. What was the problem? Like, obviously we couldn't do it then. But I mean, when we did book it, months in advance.
So clearly foreshadowing like a perfect metaphor for your relationship, right?
Yep, that's a pretty good way to put it. Yep.
First or second?
That was the first one, thank you. That was my son's mother. So second one was very nice. She did not want a big wedding either. We went to the Justice Peace. I was actually good friends with the mayor of White Plains, so he married us over White Plains. We went on a honeymoon down to 40 Keys. That was actually a great time. I had a good wedding. They came back and had a big party at the yacht club here in Greenwich. Isn't it funny? Like I go along with these things. Like the first marriage too. Like I bought this piece of land, nice piece of land up in Pauling, New York, acre, overlooking a beautiful lake. And I was going to build a log cabin, rustic log cabin with the stone fireplace. The ex-wife got a hold of it, turned into a 5,000 square foot monstrosity with spiral staircase, tiles on the floor, and all this stuff. I get divorced later on. I go, what? So I didn't get the log cabin I want. Now I'm divorced. I should stay away from getting married. That's what I should do.
There you go. That's even better.
Yeah.
On the boat.
Yeah. Look at all the times I get talked into things sometimes. I'm so stubborn, right? But then other times I get talked into things, and they're like, that's the thing. That's why I'm stubborn.
Yeah. But how are you getting talked into things if you're stubborn?
Well, that's the good question, right? So we should probably do a show on that to analyze myself. So I'm stubborn, won't listen to anybody. And then all of a sudden, I'm allowing this person to get us a yacht that's not even built yet for our wedding. So
maybe people are more stubborn than you.
Or maybe that's a great. We do need to analyze that. It could be that maybe I realize I'm stubborn, so I think, okay, don't be stubborn this time. Just give it. Somebody wants something, just give it. And then it always turns out to be bad. So. What's the second one wasn't?
So my wedding was like yours. It was just as a piece. Christine, the judge, and two little old ladies who worked in the office. And that was it. Nice. No part. So we talked about this before. Weddings seem to be not for the people getting married, but for the guests.
Yeah. Cool.
This show you put on, you got to perform. You can't have a great time.
I know. And that's why Jackie Piazza's Sarah Farrell now, hers was a good wedding because of that. They really made sure that, she was running around. There's a lot of people, so she was running around. She wasn't able to cover as much as she wanted to, but they had fun still. A lot of dancing. It was one of those weddings too, where rarely was there nobody on the dance floor. There's always people up there dancing. Good crew. I think alcohol had a lot to do with that too, but that's all right.
I went to a wedding once for my friend in San Diego on a naval base. My friend Boris Bobian. It was a morning wedding on a Sunday. We get there on the naval base, and it's a dry wedding. I don't drink, but I was wishing that they had alcohol or the beer because it was just love your Bo, but that wedding was a tough one, right?
Oh. There was no problem with Jackie's wedding. There's one table beside us. We sat together with Michael Ali, who used to work for the Rangers. Now he used to do Jackie's job. He now works for the Islanders. Adam Graves, his wife, were there. Stefan Matteau and his new wife, Stu. They just recently got married. And Nick Fatio and his wife. And a couple other people. Actually, we were doing a podcast with the woman I met there. Christina is her name. And beside us at the table, there's some younger people, and they were cutting it loose. They were funny. You know what? It was funny because now they'd had a few cocktails, and the speeches they spread the speech out. So they were very quiet and everything during the early speeches. But by the time they got to the latter speeches, man, they were having a blast. It wasn't.
So you were at the Ranger table.
We're at the Ranger table. Yes, we were.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. People coming up to you guys.
You know what? Jackie was really worried about that too. They did. They came up, but they were really nice to play. And you know how the guys are too. Especially that group of guys are all very personal and love talking to people. So, but they're funny. Typical thing that happens to me now. I walked in early, and a couple of guys are sitting there on a bench, and I walked up and said, "Hey, I'm Tom Laidlaw." They go, "Oh no, we would know who you are." And I thought, they know me from being a Ranger. They can care less about the Ranger part. They watch Survivor. That's
laugh.
Yeah, they don't. That happens to me a lot now, where people they'll talk about hockey a little bit, but it's mainly talk Survivor.
All right, you're in a group like that. Who's the most popular guy? Is it Graves or?
Graves is It's just he's I think the reputation that he's built, winning the Stanley Cup in '94. Stefan Matteau's up there pretty good. He's got a great personality, and Nick, and just be careful. I think Graves is, but that whole group of people was a lot of fun, like very personal. And the wives were the same way.
And you went solo? You went stag?
Yeah, I went stag. Yeah. I know. I'm thinking. I guess it's seen for so long now. Like you go to an event like that, you have to entertain somebody, especially if you don't know them that well, right? You got to entertain and make sure they're okay. Instead, you're on your own.
And you get double the food, right?
That's true. Yes. Although I was good. We had some great cod there, stuffed cod. Oh, gosh, nice. Even had a couple of beers.
Sounds like an awesome time.
Yes, it was. It was all good.
Good that you get to hang out with your Ranger alumni. Today we're going to have a great guest people have been asking for a long time on the show. But people will hear it kind of gets cut off. But we have the captain. We have Barry Beck today.
Bubba's a great guy, great personality. Yeah, you're right. That's too bad. He's in Hong Kong, obviously, and that's we had our problems with technical difficulties. But it's so good to see him doing better. He's got through a lot of stuff, right? Obviously, with Mark Pavelich, his son, he talks about those things and his feelings about that. So he was And like I said, last time we saw him was at the golf tournament here, I guess a year ago, a little over a year ago, and he was not doing too well on it. He was very public about talking about his struggles, and he, like I said, doing much better now. So
yeah, and we'll definitely call this a part one because he's going to come back on. We just got to work out there's some technical stuff that he's so far away, but we'll get it back on. People can hear where he's at.
I'll tell you, it was great to do the show because it just brings back so many memories. He was a great guy, great team player, a lot of pressure on him, right? Talking like 5 guys were traded for him. So he was a fun guy to play with.
Yeah, and the fact, and like you, he's kind of, even though he had all this responsibility, he was a huge goofball. Here's a question. Do you guys work on fighting? Like, do you practice that in practice at all, or at least hold?
No. They do now. They watch films now. They study them. We really didn't. Guys, he was more having a book on the other guys on the team that were fighters, whether they're left-hand punchers or right-hand punchers. How tough were they? Were they, like guys like Mark Pavelich would just never quit. Garrett Langdon that we've had on the show, he was a client of mine. His reputation was he was like a second half fighter, so he'd let the other guy hit him a little bit. But so you'd know that kind of stuff. But really, as far as technique, like probably was a pretty good idea. There was one guy that played in the league, this Jay Caulfield. He actually played with us. So he played in Pittsburgh throughout his career. Yeah, he didn't play much hockey. He was a football player. Big, nicest guy too. Tremendous person. Tough as nails, but he couldn't stand up. He'd fall down every fight, so he'd lose all the time. And everybody knew that. It's like, oh, take him up, stand up. He's good.
Well, one of our, going back to Barry Beck, so Herb Brooks made him the captain, right?
Yep. Yes, that's correct. Yep.
One of our listeners, Andrew Lane, New York, wanted to know if people in the NHL were tired of Brooks's act. If they just thought this guy was kind of like a clown show because he won the Olympics and that's why he was there, and this stuff he did in college. How do you think? I know you.
I loved him. He was fantastic for me. I don't. It's interesting. I watched an old game from '84 when we lost to Kenny Moore. I was watching it on YouTube the other day, and it reminded me how Clark Gillies had said that he thought if we'd won that series, we could have won the Stanley Cup that year. Where that could coach, and that was Herb putting that team together. I apologize. But I didn't view him that way. Was Herb different? Yes, probably ahead of his time, really, in the way he coached at new players. The thing with Herb was he knew exactly what he wanted, right? So he came in after we'd gone to the semifinals. My first year went to the semifinals, 80-81, with a tough team, beat LA, St. Louis, and ultimately losing to the Islanders in the semifinals. And then Herb comes in to coach next year. And typically, again, you don't get rid of a bunch of guys when you got to the semifinals. But Herb came in with a whole new attitude, way to play the game. Mark Pavelich, Rob McClanahan, all those kind of players. And
Weaving.
Yep, Riley Weaving. And we were called the Smurfs by Bubba Cameron, coach in Philadelphia. But I tell you, I watched that game. We were. That's probably the best team I played on with the Rangers at '84. Even though we lost in the first round, we just were. Man, it's just skate good defensively. Herb could run people the wrong way, but that was Herb. But
all right, that team beat the Flyers 2 times in the playoffs?
At least, yeah, probably 2. Yeah,
but it was. I guess the question is, the other teams, were they like, this guy's full of shit with his college stuff, it's not going to work on us, or did people buy into?
Yeah, I think because we had success, I think people think, okay, this guy is different, but he's successful. And I think the players, we talked about this before, I don't think I realized at the time, but one of the big things that Herb did, like with me, for example, was he very defined my role very clearly for me. So I understood what my role was. Yeah.
Laidlaw, get rid of the puck when you get it.
Yeah. But then the payoff at the end of for me was that he would then play me in all those key defensive situations. And I went back and watched all the games he did. There's other guys, James Patrick came in. Barry Beck obviously could do everything. Fight, score, hit, power play, penalty. James Patrick was kind of like 1A or maybe number 2 in that same role. He could do all those same things. But Herb, it wasn't like he didn't play James in those situations. But when it was a pure defensive situation, he made sure he got me on the ice. And again, I didn't understand it. I watched the games now. I realized, okay, I see the psychology there now, why he understood without even saying to that, okay, if you do what I tell you to do, then I'm going to play all the time. That's what he just did. And I just became accustomed to that. That's what it worked. So he was good. The mental part of the game, just like understanding personalities and egos, guys' desires to be important parts of the team. So that's what Herb was really good at.
And he was great with our next guest, Barry Beck. Hopefully people enjoy the show.
Big Bubba.
Good morning, Tom. We have a huge show today. This one has been highly requested by many of our listeners. They've been asking us, when's he coming on? When's he coming on? Well, today we have the former captain and your teammate. We have Bubba, Barry Beck.
Big, bad, bodybuilding Barry Bubba Beck. Bubba, what's happening, brother? How are you?
Well, you're paying me so much, so I had to come on.
You played for the love of the game. You never played for money.
Never.
How are things? You sounded good. You sound a lot better. We saw you back here in Westchester Country Club with the golf tournament. You weren't feeling too well. It looks like you've gotten a lot better now.
Well, yeah, that was the last time I saw you. Was at the golf tournament, and I wasn't feeling good at all. I was going through my withdrawals at that point. I was feeling rough, and I sort of made it back to the city. It's quite a long story. I'll try and make it short. But Glenn Sather helped me out, and the Rangers helped me out. NHL alumni helped me out, got me into rehab for my addiction to sleeping pills. It's Zopiclone here in Hong Kong. Zopiclone is banned in the USA because it is so addictive. And so I spent 30 days at the Poconos, close to where Kotze lives. So he tells me. And
Did he come and live with you?
He didn't come by and see me, no.
Oh,
but
Mr. Congeniality.
it was the best thing that could have happened to me at that point.
Right. Yeah, I did hear rumors about the Rangers getting involved. Actually, I think you put that on Facebook as well, too. So, yeah, that's good to see, right? Because sometimes I think people get away from the game and they don't realize all the good people that are still in the game helping other shit. Good stuff. But Barry, where were you raised? Where were you born?
Raised in Vancouver.
That's you're Vancouver. Okay. Do you ever get back there now? Do you have a family back there?
Well, my mother lives about 4 hours outside of Vancouver, and my brother lives 30 minutes outside of there. But last time I was there was after the murder of my son. I had a service in Hamilton area in Binbrook, in Millview, where my mother lives, and so I got a chance to see family and friends at that point. And but I love living in Hong Kong.
Well, you've touched on your son there, and obviously we spoke before the show. If it's okay, we talk about that. So, how old was your son when he lost his life?
20 years old.
And was he living with his mother in the Hamilton area?
Living in Binbrook. Binbrook's, I guess, about 25 minutes from Hamilton. And he had just finished his first 2 years of university studying mental health and recovery.
Oh.
And was back home for the summer. And it all stemmed from the incident stemmed from a road rage incident. He was followed back to a house party by 4 young men in a car and was stabbed when he got out of the car. And he really bled out almost immediately. Artery was severed in the stomach area. And, this was during COVID. So I flew back from Hong Kong, but I didn't get a chance to go to the funeral. Because of COVID, I couldn't attend. And so, yeah, that was a rough time. It was a big loss for me.
Yeah. I didn't realize about not being able to attend the funeral, too. That makes it even worse, right? How did you find out, Bear?
My brother called me. It was afternoon in Hong Kong. There's a 12 to 13 hours time difference to the East Coast, depending on what time of year it is. It's 12 hours now. And when I got that call, as I said, it was a rough one. I hit the floor. It was tough with my son, living in China and working in Hong Kong. I love it here. And it was a great opportunity for me to be the first ex-NHL player to come over and work the program in China, Hong Kong being part of China, but it's in a special administrative region. So the laws are different and there's much more democracy than there is in mainland China. But I was away from my son. I would see him twice a year. And we did have plans for him to come over here after his last year of high school, but he opted to go to university in Nova Scotia. And so we thought that, he had finally sort of found his calling. And he always told me that he thought he was going to be the next Dr. Phil.
Huh. Very cool. Very cool. And Brock is his name, right? Brock?
Yes.
Good.
So it'd be coming up here pretty soon. July 26th was the day he was murdered. And yeah, that sort of fueled my addiction to sleeping pills.
Sure, that's understandable, Barry.
And if I can talk about that a little bit, Tommy.
Yep, go ahead.
Because of the fact that I hope that'll help somebody. Because over here, especially foreign men, they put in long hours of work and they got to get up early. They can't get any sleep. They start taking Zopiclone to be able to function. But for me, when my son was killed, I didn't sleep for 8 days.
Oh, wow.
And so I used some sleeping pills, and then it just continued. And the more you use, the more you need. And that's the way that it got for me. The past 6 months before I saw you, so I went to rehab September 28th, 2022. I was using 70 pills every 24 hours.
Wow.
And that is 10 milligrams a pill. And I still wasn't getting a lot of sleep. My body was becoming so accustomed to it that I just needed the pills just to function. So, when I went to rehab, I would tell the guys I was sitting with at the table that I'm not supposed to be there. I should be at a sleeping disorder place. I'm sitting beside heroin addicts and meth heads and everything else, alcoholics. But the withdrawals that I went through were so painful that, I knew that I needed to be there. I tried to stop on, I bet you 8 or 9 different occasions, and I would go a week without sleeping. And I couldn't do it anymore. I needed to get some sleep to work. And that's the way that it continued to be. So I needed to be in a medical setting. And so the Rangers gave me that opportunity. Thank God I ran out of pills when I was in New York, or I would have been back on the flight to Hong Kong. That probably would have been going through the same thing.
Yeah. Wow.
No, I just will say about Zopiclone, how it affects your nervous system, and it will completely change your body. And, like I said, I was doing 70 pills within a 24-hour span for 6 months. So you can imagine what that can do to your nervous system.
Barry, did they give you any kind of medication?
Well, after my son was murdered, I just want to kill everybody who was.
Yeah.
I found out, the 4 men that were arrested. I found once it took 4 months for the arrest, but once it happened, I found out where their families lived. I found out as much as I could about them because I was going to kill them all. So that fueled my addiction.
I can't imagine, Barry, what's going
through. Of course, it was months after that Mark Pavelich.
Were you pretty close with Pav when we were playing together?
Now, I don't think really anybody was too close with Pav.
Yeah, good point.
When we were playing, but I would say we connected on a certain level. I know that he loved music and I love music. He liked to play guitar. I play bass guitar. And so, but the way that he was. He was a tough guy for people to understand.
Yeah, totally. Great. A fantastic guy too. He just, he was a different dude. He was going to do his thing and that was it.
Yeah. Well, that sort of happened. I knew when he needed help and I think he knew when I needed help.
Yeah.
And, I don't want to get into, I had a lot of resentment. I had a lot of resentment towards the Rangers.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And, I went through that with JD and, with what happened with Mark, and then nobody called me on my son. Now, I think both you and I know that once you leave the team that they don't owe you anything. I love the team and I know you do too. You do a lot of work for them and a lot of players do. And, there was I had a lot of resentment. That's one of the things with being in rehab. I had a lot of resentment of Ontario, Canada, for the person who murdered my son. Got only 3.5 years.
Oh, I didn't know that. Wow.
And, where that really started.
So go ahead, Barry. I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say that I write about my book. What really helped me was writing. As you get older, you can't your body. Well, I'm not like you. You're a little bit younger than me, I think. And so I like to try and use my mind a little bit more now. I like to write.
Have you got a book out, Barry?
It's called The Cell.
So, Bubba, you were talking to us about the resentment you had, and one of the resentment places one of the places you resented was the province of Ontario where your son was murdered. Talk to us about that resentment.
Well, it was all over the court case. I was in Hong Kong at the time. I mean, I had gone out there, but it was taking time to find the individuals that were responsible. So I came back to Hong Kong, and once they were arrested, the 4 young men that were arrested, then I had to sit through the court proceedings, the bail hearings by Zoom. And I knew that the way that the bail hearings were going, that the court was so liberal that, we were in jeopardy of even getting one person to be responsible. And I harbored a lot of resentment towards the courts. And I made it known in a letter that I wrote to them. And it was difficult for our families.
And then, Barry, you touched on the resentment towards the New York Rangers and other teams, just the NHL in general. Talk about that a little bit as well.
Well, I think that started with Mark and what happened with Pav, and that really nobody was in his corner at that time. It took some time for people to come and help him. And he was on the 1980 gold medal team. You think USA Hockey would have been, knocking the door down to try and get there to help. But they didn't. And I thought the Rangers should have stepped in, the NHL alumni, and they eventually did, and were able to help Mark. And the help of Clinton Larchuk and Jean Pavelich, his sister, and Tom Gorance, former players, former player with the Flyers. So they did a lot of work, and we managed to put a team together, the Ranch Teammates for Life team, to really try and help Mark. And, we were finally able to get him in a better place under the psychiatric facility and into the Eagle's Nest, and which caters more to veterans, but there was a lot of good people there. And so we thought he was in a good place. And, when we talk about suicide, it's just so confusing. I mean, you just never know. Yeah. And we thought, I Zoomed with Mark 2 days before his suicide. And, through my conversations with him, he had told me that he always had a plan. And I knew he was fragile. And, when I used to call that psychiatric facility, I thought it was me who needed more help after the phone calls, because it's a communal phone when you phone there. So you can get anybody. I would get some girl on there and she'd be yelling down the hallway for Mark, Hey, Pav, you got another call? So I was going a little crazy myself.
Wow.
But the resentment really started with the courts in Ontario. And then after that, it just seems like anything seemed to fuel my resentment. And when something like this happens, a very traumatic incident, for me, it was my only child, to be in such a senseless, violent murder. It just tore me apart. Like I couldn't be there to help him. And, I have to live with that. And I do. It's not easy. It's a struggle every day. I think about my son before I go to bed, and I think about my son when I wake up in the morning. There's a lot of people that go through a lot of trauma, and you just have to find a way to cope.
Yeah. Well, I'm learning a lot more about mental health as well, and just the ability for particularly men, not limited to men, to talk about it, right? Like you and I, like big tough guys, you're not supposed to talk about our feelings or whatever. And I think it's still like Tom Smith over here, my producer, has taught me a lot about that. We'd sit here and talk about some of my relationships in the past, and I'd be always blaming everybody else. And Tom finally said to me one day, well, what's the common denominator there? It's probably you. So it's really forced me to look at myself as well. And that's a hard thing to do, I think, for anybody, but for a man, but it's something you have to do, right? I mean, I'm sure you've done that yourself. So, well, one of the things that the resentment you talked about with the National Hockey League and particularly the Rangers. So again, like you talked earlier, I've been fortunate because I've, as an agent, I was in 22 years, I was really still involved in the game. was always in contact with the NHL.
Yeah, when I talk about the resentment towards the Rangers, I was away from the team for a long time.
Yeah.
In my book, I talk about, when I had to retire 80 to 87 with all those shoulder problems, and, I wanted nothing more to win a Stanley Cup with the Rangers. I was traded for 5 players, and that was, to me, the only way that my career was going to be validated was for our team to win a Stanley Cup. And when that didn't happen, I eventually took the time off, rehabbed my shoulder, tried to come back and play in LA. I wasn't the same player, as you know, but I gave it a shot, and that was a difficult time for me. When I played junior hockey, we won the Memorial Cup. I was the most valuable player. So the next thing after that is to win a Stanley Cup and maybe be MVP. I don't know. That wasn't as important to me ever, or playing for Team Canada, as trying to make the Rangers win.
We came close a couple of times, right? There, our first year we went to the semifinals. Islanders beat us out. We recently, before we lost Clark Gillies, we had him on a show, and he was fantastic. What a great guy. I know you know him, but he was talking that when we lost to them in '84 when Kenny Morrow scored that overtime goal, he thought that if we'd won that series, we could have won the Stanley Cup that year. So that was pretty interesting to hear that from him. And that was all your fault too, because you hurt your shoulder.
Yeah. There was another, I don't know if it was a year before that, when they had Pittsburgh in the short series.
Yeah.
And they had to go into overtime, beat Pittsburgh at home. I thought we had a good chance there too.
Yep, definitely. Barry, you touched on the resentment with the NHL. Just for me, I think kind of clarify it for people out there. So when you leave the game, again, I was fortunate. I, continued on the agent business, so I was really still involved in the game. Lived here locally, did a lot of Ranger stuff. And a lot of guys, as in Barry's case, moved away, and Barry moved a long way away. You kind of get removed from the game. You don't really hear all the stories that go on behind the scenes about management helping players. So for Barry, it was difficult because he didn't see that. He didn't see the stuff that everybody was doing. And I believe too, didn't the alumni have to wait for Mark to ask for help before they could help him? Was that how it worked?
Well, this is debatable.
Right.
Shouldn't somebody, right away, case of Mark, it was me. And so I sort of took on that role. And so that's okay. Mark was a good friend and a teammate, and I'd do it for anybody, really. I would do it for a player that I didn't play with.
Yeah.
And that's the brotherhood of the NHL. Yeah. When a guy is sick, when a guy is hurt, somebody's got to be there. And if you're going to really abide by the rules and say, well, you have to wait for Mark to call them, they could have been waiting on a long time. So you know how Mark was.
Oh, yeah, no question.
So, and that was unfortunate. And I came out, that I came out publicly. I wasn't happy about it. Finally, some things got done. So now I don't attribute it to me speaking out publicly, but it didn't hurt.
Well, yeah, you made sure that people were hearing what was going on with him, right? There's a lot of guys that are struggling. Stories of guys living under bridges and L.A. and Joe Murphy stuff. And Joe Murphy became very public. There's a lot of guys out there that, we lost Walt Podubny to alcohol problem. And nobody ever heard about that. That was totally behind the scenes. And he was an old teammate of ours too. And I don't think any of us knew that was going on with him. So it's, there's some, we've done about 50 podcasts here now. We've had, 5 guys that,
at least 5 guys that had mental health issues where they wanted to take their own lives.
Yeah.
I think from what we've heard from Glenn Healy and some others and Clint Malarchuk, it's getting better, but there's still a long way to go.
Yeah. Yeah, it is getting better. You do get more people that are talking about their feelings now. I know it sounds kind of funny for me to be laughing about that, but if you were in an NHL locker room and then now you see these guys talking about their feelings, it's just, the two things just don't go together. Right? It's just guys, we would never talk about our feelings, right, Bubba? In the locker room. Like if I came up to you and said, Barry, I'm feeling a little bit depressed today. Can you give me a hug? It's just not going to happen in the NHL.
Maybe then, but now it's changing because we're human beings who all have struggles.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, for me, I've been in a depressive state before, but I don't stay there long. I love living too much. I love to have fun. I love to laugh. And that is really the key, is to don't isolate yourself and to keep connected with your friends.
Anybody that doesn't know Barry Beck very well, he was one of the funniest men I ever played with. Really. Bubba would come in the locker room sometimes. We'd die laughing. When you were on fire, Barry, and going back and forth, you're a funny man. We had a lot of fun.
Funny story with Herb Brooks.
There you go. Let's hear this.
You know, when we were playing for Herb, and, you know, Herb and I used to play, me and you together, killing bullies. I asked Herb one time, Tommy and I 5-on-5. Well, every time he passes me the puck, he breaks your stick. So I liked playing with you because I thought that, okay, I'm playing with Tommy. I get a chance to rush the puck now because he's going to stay back. And then I would watch you, and all of a sudden I'd take off ice, and I go, what the hell are you doing?
So would the fan.
What should be doing? That's funny. Barry, I'll never forget one time, Bubba and I were having fun all the time. We were in a warm-up one time at Madison Square Garden. We're skating around, and Bubba comes flying over to me. He's going to hit me, you know. And I said, Bubba's coming. So I'm bracing myself. You know, I got Bubba landed on his ass. He just wasn't expecting me to hit back. And we were dying laughing. What's running into each other. I'll never forget. One game we played, I'll never forget this game. I don't know why I remember. We played a game in Washington, and we got losing the game. So you and I decided we were going to hit everybody we could hit. And Frank Brown wrote the next day in the paper, I said, back in Laidlaw, we're playing like linebackers. And I was like, oh, man, that's cool. That was cool. Bubba, how many games did you get in the National Hockey League?
How many did I play?
Yes.
Around 650. I don't know the exact number. I think I probably could have made it to 94.
Yeah, that's right. But Phil would have traded you.
Yeah.
Shoot the puck, Barry. People still say that to this day.
Shoot the puck, Barry.
Well, what are you going to do? I guess I should consider it an honor to be mentioned with Bill Chadwick. You know the story of Bill losing his eye as a referee and you know, being a one-eyed referee. I used to kid him about that because I used to tell him I thought he was totally blind. So Ron Duguay and I had lunch with him one day. I think it was in Quebec. And he told me, you got to stop passing so much. He said, maybe shoot the puck more. And I go, yeah, thanks, Bill. Maybe I'll try that tonight. Always during the game, I happened to score. And then every time after that, he coined the phrase, shoot the puck, Barry. And it's funny when I'm in a couple of Ranger groups and I follow the Ranger team. And they're always saying, why isn't anybody shooting the puck? Shoot the puck. You know, they're saying they pass too much.
Fans still say that today at games.
Well, at least they remember me.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. So, Barry, you mentioned before you got traded for 5 guys. So they'd gone to the Stanley Cup Finals 79. Next year, they trade 5 guys away to get you. Did you sense a lot of pressure to perform after that happened?
Yeah, well, I didn't feel the pressure right away. You know, when I got traded when I was in Colorado and the Rangers were in Colorado. I mean, at first I told them I wasn't going to report. I had been there the day before and they told me I wasn't going to be traded. So when the trade happened, to take a year to the next and then try and play the game, I think it was 2 nights later. So, yeah, that wasn't a lot of fun, that game. But then we went on to Vancouver. I think we lost that game 7-2. Then we went to Vancouver, we won. And then we came back to New York and we played probably the highlight reel of my career, that first game. I've still been looking out for it somewhere. I still can't find it.
All right, Bubba. So being the captain of the New York Rangers, again, that pressure didn't start right away, but then you started feeling more and more as you played for the Rangers, correct?
Yeah, I think after that first year when I was there and we lost in 5 games to the Flyers. I mean, of course, a lot of that responsibility fell on my shoulders. And you know what it's like to be captain. You've been captain before. There's always pressure to lead the team. And of course, I felt bad about that. And, there was only going to be one way to turn that around for me. And that, I knew that I was spending a lot of time out of the night and going to clubs and enjoying my time in New York City. And I thought, well, I better try and get this under control and start going to every practice, going to every optional practice. Because when I used to hear the words optional practice, I I was like a cheerleader. I was like jumping up and down. So, and so were the other guys who lived in the city.
Yep.
But you're only going to get out of the game what you put into it. And so I started to do that. And I became a better player. You know, when I first went to New York, I was young. And although I was mature for my age, I mean, I didn't play in front of a lot of people in Colorado. So I was playing power play, killing penalties. I was playing 35 minutes a game. So, yeah, I mean, I felt bad that first year. I know that when the team goes to the finals the year before, that means they should return once again. So I felt a lot of responsibility for that.
Sure. So then Herb Brooks comes along, and you guys had a few confrontations. Was there one time when you were hurt or something like that, and he called you a coward publicly?
Well, yeah, you know, I mean, what kind of coach calls the captain a coward? I mean, you know, I loved Herb, but I knew that he would say some things.
Yeah.
That maybe he just said, you know, he was consumed 24 hours a day with hockey.
Yeah.
And you know that.
Yeah.
And I mean, I thought he was a great coach. I mean, he really made the game fun for me because everybody could get in on the offensive game. And it was more puck control. And, you know, I mean, it shows you how good the Islanders were because I thought we had a good team.
Oh, yeah.
And for us not to be able to get by them, what a good coach Al Arbor was also.
No question.
And, you know, after that incident, I went, you know, I threw that garbage can at him.
Okay,
And,
don't go as quiet. You got to talk about that some more. That was classic. So Herb calls you a coward publicly. Barry's hurt, comes to practice. We're on the ice. Barry grabs a garbage can full of sticks. Go ahead. Tell us what happened after that, Bubba.
Well, I was fuming when I got to practice. I mean,
Yes, you were.
I had 30 minutes to think about it when I was driving up city up to Rye. I mean, I was going to grab him and I was going to shake him a little bit. So, but you guys were already on the ice. And so there was a garbage can there. So I just, when he skated around, I just picked it up and I hurled it at him. And that sort of everything started from there.
Oh, God. We're on the ice and Bubba's losing his mind.
Oh, Tom, I think we lost Barry there. Okay. Well, it's a good episode. Heard some good stories, but I think we're having there was some technical challenges, him being in Hong Kong.
Yeah, definitely. Yes. But yeah, Barry's doing a lot better. You know, he's been very open about his addiction issues. I saw him recently at the golf tournament with the Rangers, and he was not good at all. But to the Rangers, the alumni, the NHL in general, really came step forward to help him.
Yep.
And it was really good to see. Barry's been through some tough times.
Yeah, it was absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone heard that in this episode. He's been through some real serious tragedies, but I think he's on a good path.
I look back at Barry too, the pressure that had to be on him. So the Rangers got into the finals in '79, did not win. Then next year they traded away 5 players to get Barry Beck.
5, they got it. That's a quarter of the team, just gone.
And you think about that too, because man, the pressure on you, and he was counted on to do everything, and he could do everything. He'd fight, score, kill penalties, hit. I remember watching him play. He was a funny guy. He had a great sense of humor too. And Larry Robinson was the same way too. It was just like little kids. And I think they really loved and had passion.
Well, yeah, that's it. You got to keep it fresh. You got to keep it young and exciting and positive. He also said he thinks if not for his shoulder injury, he wouldn't have been playing in '94. Thinks he might have been part of the Cup team if he didn't have his injury. So that's him because he was a great player. He could do everything.
I remember watching him play. Like my role was supposed to be he was the guy. He was the captain. Right. I was assistant captain. He was the lead. He was number 1 defenseman. I was kind of like 2 or 3 or 4, wherever we want to look at it. So I really had to kind of defer. Like you have to understand your role as that secondary guy and let that guy. Because when Barry get hurt, sometimes I'd be captain. I'd get more, and people would say, "Well, why are you playing like that when Barry's not liable?" And because this is the way the team is supposed to be structured. Barry Beck's the leader. My job's to help him in that leadership role and to be that secondary player.
Well, you were second pair. He played with Ruotsalainen mostly, and then you played with a bunch of different people.
Yeah, James Patrick, Larry Melnick. Those guys in particular. But yeah, that was, and you know what I liked with that team? We all understood our roles as far as you always wanted it to be better, and you should always strive to be better. But I love the fact that like I've watched some old games recently, and we get this downtime during the summer, and I see there's situations where Barry and Rails were going on the ice more.
Yeah.
And I had people that watch, aren't you mad? Like, you were a good defenseman too. I said, well, no, this is the way it should be.
Sure.
Now, I want to win. I want our team to win. Those two are the big guys that need to play in that role. I'll get my role.
Yep.
And then we thought before that was Herb Brooks was so good at that too.
But you guys also had a great year at 86 defensively. Van Beesbroek won the best. Yeah, you guys had the lowest goals against the league, I believe, right? That's good. That speaks to the defense too.
You know, and we thought of this too. That 86 run was fantastic. The one in 81 was a fantastic run. But that 80-14, although we lost in the
Yeah.
man,
Everyone listening to this program knows how much that bothers you, how much that hurt me as a fan. Like that one stuff here.
Yeah, for some reason, we didn't even get a chance to get on a run. And then the games, like that game 5 against, Barry couldn't play in because
Flatley took a hit, right?
Yeah.
Clean hit too.
Yeah, clean hit. No problem at all. It really showed. I mean, listen, we still played great, but you kind of wonder, like, what if Barry was playing too?
Yeah.
Oh, God, that put us over the top. Because again, we've had Clark Gillies on the show before he passed away, and we got pretty good friends with him. And he said, and I was really surprised. We didn't ask him the question necessarily, but he said that
he offered it.
Yeah, they thought that if a lot of it sounded like it wasn't just him. It was like they sat around and talked about it. That if we won that series, we probably could have won.
Anyone watching hockey knows that. I mean, you guys had a great team. You just had to go through this juggernaut. The last dynasty.
Barry, I'd go back to Barry. Man, I remember him as a fantastic team, funny guy. He just he loved joking around. He would do some. I don't think he might, but he would do things like in the locker room. God, I can't tell the story. But he's a big guy. So he'd get in front of the mirror, just a pair of shorts on, oil himself up, start lifting the mirrors and weights for the mirror.
Naked.
He may have been naked, maybe shorts on. Oh, but man, it was so funny because he was doing it just to be outrageous. Like most guys wouldn't.
Was he one of the first guys who were like a gym rat? Was he one of the first lifting guys back then, or?
Well, I'd say probably the most. The other guys were lifting, but maybe more dedicated to it, especially during the season. That was one of the other back. We work out during the summers, but sometimes you get wrapped up in having fun and playing, and you're not working out as much as you should be during the season. That's all changed now.
People also realize though you're dropping weight from October to April.
Yeah.
You're really losing.
Yeah, you have to make sure that you eat enough. Like there's it's water weight sometimes. Like you play a game in the garden during a playoff game where it's hot and humid. Man, you can lose 8-10 pounds of water weight.
Yep.
Sure. So it was like they were replace you with beer, which was the smartest thing.
Well, it was great for us to catch up with Barry, and we'll have him back on again. There are definitely challenges because he's in Hong Kong. It has a huge time difference, but we'll make it happen again. Hopefully, fans got to hear from him, hear that he's doing great, and we'll have him on again soon. Yeah, definitely. He's a fantastic person. So glad he's doing much better now. He's faced the demons and he's putting it all behind him. So yeah, great show. All right, Grasshoppers, thank you for listening. We had a fantastic show. We'll see you next time.